Welcome to Ryan Rants Raves, a podcast series by the Québec Government Office in New York. Bienvenue à Ryan Rants Raves, une série de podcasts par le gouvernement du Québec à New York.
I am delighted and honored to be with Marcia Kilgore. She is the founder of Beauty Pie, and I think she is also a true example of Canadian entrepreneurship, as she has founded 5 companies. At Trailblazer, she first started her first company in 1993, which turned into Bliss, which was sold in part to LVMH and then later to Starwood Hotels. And then she has consequently created several other companies. Marcia, thank you so much, Messi, for taking the time to chat with me.
Oh, it's a real pleasure. Thank you for having me.
I do want to chat about with you today is your newest endeavor, and that is Beauty Pie, which some have termed to be as the Netflix of the beauty industry. Can you just share some more information about Beauty Pie and how it came about?
Oh, I'd love to. So Beauty Pie is a buyer's club for beauty addicts. And it's not just beauty products as such. We also do candles and homeware and incredible gifts. And now we're moving also into wellness supplements. And the idea behind it really was that I myself, having been in the beauty industry for so long, knew what the incredible markups were from manufacturing to retail. And at every point in some industry, someone has to come along and make it more fair for the customer. And I was always a bit shocked that something that might cost $5 to manufacture would retail for somewhere between 50 and 100. One year, I was going to China to work on a footwear collection for my other company, FitFlop. And I realized it was winter. I had forgotten my moisturizer. And I got off the plane in Hong Kong and went into a duty-free and went straight to one of the counters where I knew one of the products that was a moisturizer was quite good because the company had previously sent me a sample of it. I guess I was an influencer, way back then. and and I remember looking at the price of it, having not had to buy myself a cosmetics product for many, many years because I'd always been working with different labs who would send in samples and thinking, are you kidding me? I would never pay, I think it was $150. And that the product itself probably cost $6 to make. And I just thought, oh my God, I'm not paying this. You get removed from what average person is paying for their beauty products. And I thought, that is so unfair. And then I thought, well, if I don't want to pay it, then why would anybody else want to pay it? And it was one of those points of light for Beauty Pie. I collected a lot of information while I was coming up with the idea. And I just thought, wouldn't it be great if, like I loved going to all of the manufacturers and the labs and trying the samples and being able to leave with the bags full of stuff that were ostensibly free or very low cost, wouldn't everybody else love to do that too? And I just had one of those light bulb moments when the hair on your body stands up on end because you think, wow, I know I'm onto something here. And it's happened to me every time. And that was it. I just thought, well, I've got to find a way to make this happen. I know there are millions of women who would love to shop for really high quality beauty products. And of course, vitamins without fillers, beautiful candles that really have beautiful throw, but without having to pay that 1,000% markup. And so I started with that and then figured out how to do it.
I think it's a beautiful story, and it shows just how you shared in your experience, how you had so much exciting time discovering these factories and seeing the samples, and you're sharing that with the consumer, which probably wasn't really aware of the fact that the markup was so large that the retailers were charging. And I like the name Beauty Pie because they're having a piece of the pie.
It's getting a bigger piece of the beauty pie. It really was the most fun I've ever had. It, still is to this day. It is like, going to one of the labs or one of the manufacturers for the day to see what their new formulas are like and test their new textures and try. I mean, it's like going to Disneyland, right? So for a woman, especially, you just think, oh, this is amazing. And even when they used to send, labs, because we are a brand and in previous lives when I had other brands, labs would send you, here's our 10 new cream textures, right? And you would have certain labs that you'd get a box from them and it was just a brown box. Their tape would be wrapped around it and you would be so excited because you knew there was greatness inside. And it was always the most fun part for me. Whereas negotiating with retailers for shelf space and all that kind of stuff, I hated that stuff, right? So I just thought to myself, okay, I've been in business now for 30 years. How can I use everything that I know to make something that's just so much better than everything else that's out there, but at the same time, not have to compromise anymore, have to do less of what I don't like, and not have, I guess, my voice and my vision edited down by a buyer or a retailer into like a shelf of 5 products. So it is a fun project for me, although it is a tremendous amount of work. But it is, if you wanted to have kind of one last hurrah and do everything you ever wanted to do that was just the most fun for you, it would be this for me.
I think with an entrepreneur, if you're working so many hours, but you're having a great time, that's going to transcend to the consumer. And then it doesn't necessarily feel as work because you're enjoying it throughout the time.
Oh, absolutely. Life is sales, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, just you either have to sell yourself or you're selling your product, you're selling your skill, or you're selling your contacts or whatever. But it's so much easier to be selling something that you yourself are a really delighted customer of. And I couldn't imagine anything better than being able to get all of this stuff incredibly inexpensively. So it's easy and I love it. And I love the thrill that it brings to all of the customers. I mean, people just can't believe their good luck when they receive a box and they've spent a fifth of what they would normally spend and they've got all this great stuff.
How do you end up choosing because you have the experience with seeing all these labs, how do you end up choosing the products for your clients?
I'll say, Ryan, sometimes it's exhausting. Sometimes I get in the shower in the morning, right? And I think, okay, I've got 30 minutes to get out the door. And of course you have to send feedback and you have to try maybe three different shower gels or 3 different shampoos. Of course you have to use on different days, but then you have to really pay attention. So it's okay. Does this shower gel break in your hand properly? Does it smell? Is the level of scent just right? Is it too strong? Is it not strong enough? Can you smell the base? When you try to rinse it off, does it rinse off easily? Well, how does your skin feel after, Now, I don't know about you, but I'm in a hurry every morning. So
yes.
trying to remember all of this stuff while you're trying something, right? Or trying shower gel A versus shower gel B. I mean, you're exhausted by 7:45 in the morning, you're exhausted because you've had to pay so much attention to everything. And we get literally thousands of submissions every year. So whether you're trying vitamins or you're trying face moisturizers with different levels of active ingredients or different combinations, it's a skill, it's an experience, of course, when you've done it so many times. But also, of course, we've narrowed down the labs that we work with to the ones that we know are going to, if we're aiming for a product that's a 10 out of 10, which is what we do because we don't work backwards from the price. We actually just create whatever we want and we make sure that it's great instead of kind of saying, well, we need to make this much margin. And it gives us a lot more leeway because we can just make amazing product and it's still much less expensive than anything, near it that's out there. But there are certain labs that we know are going to send us something that's already an 8, right? And then we can work on getting it from an 8 to a 10. Whereas, if you went to all the labs in the world, you're probably starting at a lot of 2s and you have too far to go. So it's trial and error. We have our favorite labs. We have a lot of labs who send 10s in just like from the get-go because they've worked with us now for 5 years. And they know, hey, like, don't even bother sending something that isn't really going to work. Or they know that we want all of our active ingredients in at the clinically tested level, not just the claim level, like a little drop of it, just so they can put it on the, we always make sure that it's in there in the level that the dossier says it actually does something. So it gets faster and faster the longer you work with somebody. But I guess that's the same in any industry. But it is tiring. I right now on my desk have about 17 pairs of tweezers that I have to test to see which ones are the sharpest and grip the best. It's time consuming, but it's worth it in the end because people really trust you when you've chosen those products yourself for them.
Do you write it down straight away right after you try it, or do you voice record to keep the notes, or how
I have a color coding dot system. So I've got like green dots, I've got yellow dots, I've got orange dots, and I've got red dots. And so something has to get 3 or 4 green dots before I approve it. And then I've got, have I fed back on this item? I'll add a different color of dot. So it's sort of the easiest way I've found so far, because writing something or voice recording it, you forget to go back.
Yeah, you forget, you might lose it somewhere. I mean, I have the problem with my handwriting. Sometimes I don't understand what I was thinking with the
Maybe you need to learn shorthand. Remember that?
It's become worse as I've gotten older.
Yeah. You know, that says something about your psychology.
It does. I mean, well, it's in Franglish because, my whole workday is in French and English. So then I have a word in French, then in English. And then because I do a lot of typing, and less writing on the paper, my handwriting has progressively declined over the years.
Oh no. What does your signature look like? You know that there's signature analysis, and if it's really crazy, it goes up and down and back and forth and isn't on one line. It's dangerous.
I should send a photo.
I'd like to see. This would be very interesting.
I hope it says good things about me once you see it, not like, oh,
you never know.
I saw that in him. But to continue, do you want to change gears a bit and just talk about entrepreneurship, because you've created so many successful companies, but do you have some lessons that you can share that you learned?
Oh my God, millions of them. How long do you have? So many lessons, right? I think number one is always trust your gut. And I know that there are different types of people, right? So if you do your Myers-Briggs typography index, which some people believe and then some people don't, Adam Grant will say, well, that's an outdated system. But if you do that system with anybody, they'll say, oh my God, that's completely me. Some people really need a lot of data to make decisions. And then some people use their gut instinct as data. They just can't maybe describe what that data is, but they are picking up cues from somewhere. And so I would say that anytime they haven't listened to my gut, I've been wrong, and it's usually a painful fall. I would say don't sell something that you wouldn't buy. That's a really easy one, and it's very obvious, but if you're not really going to spend your hard-earned cash on something yourself, then I think it's pretty tough as an entrepreneur to be selling it all day long. I know that my products are good when I will pay for them what I expect my customers to pay for them. And I, at the moment, am on the top tier of Beauty Pie membership and running out of allowance every single month. So I know that I'm doing a good job because I actually can't buy everything that I want to. And I feel very proud giving away the product. Same thing with FitFlop. When I'll pay the retail price for those shoes, I know that they're great shoes. And so I think that's one central thing, how I believe entrepreneurs should function. Elon Musk also said, I saw a quote from him the other day saying, why is everybody so worried about like artificial intelligence and their spreadsheets and their business models? And but he said, just focus on the product. Focus on the product, make the product better. If the product is better, then you're going to win, right? The product is better than other products that are out there and really, really high quality, and it's going to thrill your customer. That's what you should spend your time focusing on. Don't go out there with a mediocre product, because you know what? The world is full of mediocre products. Yeah. Nobody needs another one. Yeah, I guess those are good, right?
Yeah, I think those are good. And what you mentioned is like, if you're not selling something you believe in, I think you're forgetting the why. And I think a lot of people start companies and they forget, why are they doing this at the center? And that why, I think, will always transcend to keeping you true to your DNA as you grow in the long term. So, for instance, with Beauty Pie, you guys have supplements because that it's a part of the beauty process, but someone like who doesn't know the why might say, I'm going to start jeans, but then that's not really aligned of who you are as a company and your DNA.
Yeah. And, I think our why, and I love Simon Sinek, so you must be a fan as well when you're talking about the why, but our why is really that we want to be able to democratize access to great things and to make a lot of people realize that they are worth more and they deserve more. So instead of saying, okay, I'm going to fall for it because somebody's got their brand stamped on it, I'm going to pay 20 times too much for this product. It's actually also about helping people realize that they deserve better. And I know that's quite a profound why, but if it comes through lipstick and moisturizer, that they think, you know what, I can get more out of life. I can get more out of this. I can get more beauty. I can get more. I can negotiate harder. I am worth more. I deserve better. That's really a powerful why. And we happen to believe that and love to inspire and encourage women, especially, to demand more. And it's doing it through a product that she loves to talk about and is easy to build a community around, because women love to compare their beauty products. But there is something a little bit, I guess, deeper, I hope, that we're doing for our community, as well as saving them a bundle.
Now, I do want to chat about your roots, because I know, you're from Saskatchewan originally. And for those of you who do not know where Saskatchewan is, it is in Canada, or more rural province. But can you explain your Canadian story and you moving to New York when you were about 17, I believe? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I grew up in both Saskatchewan and Alberta, but I was born in Saskatchewan in a little town called Outlook, which had, I think, 2,000 people, probably still does, if not fewer. It was a farming town, and my mother and father had both been born there or within 6 miles of there. And we then moved, I think I must have been two, but of course I can't remember when we moved to Calgary. And I spent from the age of about 2 to probably 12 or 13 in Calgary until my dad passed away. He had brain cancer. And then my mother's family, they all pretty much lived in Saskatchewan. And of course, it was better for her to be near her family. And so we moved back to Outlook for a year and then into Saskatoon, which is the second biggest city in Saskatchewan. And then I spent my high school years in Saskatoon being a little bit bored. That was quite a long time ago and there wasn't much going on. Saskatoon's actually quite a happening place at the moment. And there's this sort of cool hippie culture and skateboarders and all the cool cafes and lots of yoga. And it's for a freezing cold town that stays in frozen tundra for probably 8 months out of the year. It's actually quite hip. But 30 some years ago, it was a little bit lacking in adventure for somebody of my, I guess, needs. I don't know how to put it another way. I just kind of felt like there wasn't much going on. And so my sister lived in New York, and she said that if I could get accepted to Columbia, she would pay for my tuition. And so I ended up moving to New York in 1987. And then we had a little snafu with the tuition thing. And so I just had to get a part-time job until I could save enough money to go back to school part-time. But then I got so busy. I mean, it's like such a long story, but I got very busy. I was working as a personal trainer when I first got there. And I got, extremely busy with that. And then I decided to learn how to do facials. And then I started giving facials to some of my personal training clients. And then that turned into, a little place that I had called Let's Face It, where I gave facials. And then I learned to do waxing. Then I hired some other people. It was quite an organic thing where I just learned the craft myself and then started hiring other people and just thought, wouldn't it be nice to have a place where all these stressed out New Yorkers could go and get really great facials and feel happy? I'm big on making people feel happy. So that was kind of the beginning of it. And then I launched Bliss in 1996 and it kind of took off from there. That was, I guess, my first real business as such.
I guess this leads me to my question about Quebec, because, Quebec is my employer and I would love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever been to Montreal or, what are your thoughts on Quebec?
Well, first of all, I just want to say that Saskatoon is very far from Quebec, right?
Yes, it is very far. The other side of the map.
However, New York was not.
Yeah.
So I have been to Montreal a couple of times, actually doing software kind of trips with companies who were programming that happened to be based in Montreal. And then more recently, I took my son, who was 15 at the time, but is now 16, because he is desperate to go to McGill.
Really?
So,
great.
Yeah, really great. I mean, I think both of my kids, I've taken them back a couple of times just to visit their relatives in Saskatoon, and they've also been to Calgary, and they really somehow really feel Canadian, which I think is wonderful. So we decided, because Louis is obsessed with going to McGill, we decided that we would go and do, the university tour, even though it was a couple of years too early. He's hell bent on it. And he was so excited about it. He felt so at home. And, we loved it. We were only there for 2 or 3 days, but we absolutely love Montreal. I haven't been to Quebec City, but I've heard it's even more beautiful. But, the people are nice. It's a gorgeous city, and it's home for us, really. So I am crossing my fingers that my son studies hard enough to get in there.
Well, if he gets into McGill and you guys end up going next, be sure to send me a note and I'll be happy to share some beautiful places to eat and to explore in Montreal and Quebec City, which can also be, it's not too far of a drive, but I'm crossing my fingers. That'll be exciting for your son to share that experience with Quebec as well.
Well, I'm trying to give him adequate pressure so that, he gets the grades.
Yeah. Then the word adequate is very appropriate, I would say.
Yes, not too. He doesn't like too much pressure, so I'm trying to balance it accordingly.
And the last thing to close is there any other advice you'd like to share? You already shared your experiences about an entrepreneur, but if you have any advice you'd like to share with the community, I would love to hear it.
I think that my best piece of advice is really to, and this I actually read about in Adam Grant's book, which was called Originals. But I know I've been doing it for a very long time because I talk about it a lot, and I had talked about it a lot in a different way and explained it in a different way before I read that and thought, oh my God, someone's actually studying this as a phenomenon. And that is that, you really want to be individual when you want to be an entrepreneur. Or not, right? Even if you just want to be an individual and you want to be curious and you want to read breadth and depth. You're always going to be, whatever you are, really good at one thing, right? You're going to have your area of really deep expertise, but then you also want to make sure that you're scanning, a wide variety of other things, whether it's publications or movies or documentaries or newsletters or newspapers, because that's what makes you interesting. And it's also what makes your outlook on things unique and valuable. And so the more that you know and the more dots that you connect together, meeting more people, reading more stuff, connecting those dots, that's how you get your opportunity. And I think I've always done it. Probably one of the reasons I moved from Saskatoon was because I couldn't find enough dots to connect. I had finished connecting all my dots and I needed to go find some more dots. But, even to this day, I try and listen to podcasts that I really don't care about or read newsletters about things that I don't really understand, just so that I have a slightly different perspective on things than other people. And I think it does give me an advantage, and I would encourage everybody else to do the same.
I think that's beautiful. And I remember I was listening to another podcast that you did, and it was about the art piece with Bridget Riley with the dots and connecting them all together. And it's really about, as you say, learning, and either that be meeting new people and gleaning information as they share with you because they're experts in their fields, or I think the importance of reading books that you don't know of, because that will help you problem solve in a new way that if you just sit watching TV, that you might not be able to accumulate that thought process. So Thank you for sharing that. I think that's a great way to end. And I look forward to chatting with you again. And it was vraiment un plaisir. Un grand merci.
Likewise, Ryan. Thank you so much for having me.
Merci d'avoir écouté Ryan's Rants and Raves. Suivez-nous sur Instagram @Ryan's Rants and Raves. Thank you for listening to Ryan's Rants and Raves. Follow us on Instagram @Ryan's Rants and Raves. À très bientôt.